Hello, dear viewers. Namaskar. Welcome to Moksha Media. By the by, I am Moksha Hiremat. The musical instruments are very important in producing effect on human minds. Without musical instruments, you cannot create such a sort of effect and effect on the nervous system of human beings. So, without musical instruments, we can't have a good sort of music. In order to make the music noble, we require musical instruments. Today, I would like to share some of the musical instruments with you. Like it, subscribe it, and share it. In Karnataka musical system, the musical instrument play a prominent role. Of course, whatever musical system it may be, there the musical instruments play a prominent role. Karnataka musical system is not an exception to this. Karnataka musical system has its own musical instruments. These musical instruments are not to that extent used in other musical systems. So that is why while listening to Karnataka music system, while having that Karnataka music system, it is better to know something about these musical instruments. Generally, musical instruments are classified in two parts. They are idiophone instruments and membranophone instruments. Idiophonic instruments produce the sound by vibration of a string, vibration of a metal, vibration of vocal, etc., etc. And the membranophonic instruments produce sound by extending the musical instrument's sound. Usually, these idiophonic and membranophonic musical instruments are used in most of the concerts in the world. The idiophonic instruments are again divided into some parts. For example, they are stringed instruments, they are wind instruments, and electronic instruments, and etc., etc. Idiophonic instruments are also used as musical instruments which produce the sound by vibrating the skin tagged to the wood, wooden drum or flute, etc., etc., etc. Of course, flute is a different type of instrument. It comes under the idiophonic instruments, that is the string instruments, wind instruments, etc., etc. But membrane phonic instruments are generally skin-based instruments and metal-based instruments. In Karnataka music system, the Karnataka musicians use Veena or Rudraveena or Vichitraveena, violin, Nadaswaram, flute, mandolin, saxophone, etc., etc., etc. These instruments are called melodic instruments because they produce the melodic sound. And of course, that tanpur is also consisted in this system. Whereas the instruments which produce the sounds by using the skin as their substance and other substances are called rhythmic instruments. They are mridangam, ghatam, kanjira, tevil, morsing, etc., etc. These are specially used instruments in Karnataka music system. Of course, while making these instruments, some substances are used. They are wood, they are strings, gum, stone powder, etc., etc. With the help of these substances, generally musical instruments are made. Anyhow, especially Veena or violin is used in Karnataka musical system as a melody instrument. Mridanga or ghatam is used as a rhythmic instrument in Karnataka musical system. Of course, these musical instruments produce a sound which affect the minds of the human beings, not only human beings, but of course animals. That is why while performing a music, generally these instruments are used. Sometimes any one of the melodic instrument or any one of the rhythmic instrument is used. Any one of the melodic instrument in case of melody instruments, any one of the rhythmic instruments in case of rhythmic instruments is used. Sometimes all of them are used. It depends upon the context. It depends upon the case. It depends upon the conducting the concert. Anyhow, these are specially used musical instruments in Karnataka musical system. Of course, other musical systems are also used some of these instruments, but not that much of. but not to that extent as they are used in Karnataka musical system. That is why these veena, violin of melodic instrument, mridangam or ghatam in rhythmic instrument, and tanpur, etc., are the part and parcel of this Karnataka musical system. Of course, so many persons are famous for playing these musical instruments. Vine Dureswami Iyengar, Tirumakoodalu for violin, and for other persons are also used these musical instruments at their best. It shows to what extent these musical instruments are part and parcel of Karnataka music system. Of course, after getting a particular level in Karnataka music system, usually a musician would like to exhibit his skill before the audience, before the selected audience, or before the audience in general. So that is called a musical concert. In the Karnataka system of music, the musical concert exposes the skill of the musicians before the audience, before the public. So that is why at a particular time, on a particular day, at a particular place, the musical concert is conducted. In Karnataka musical concert, an ensemble of musicians are there on the stage. It is an elevated stage. In the center of that elevated stage, there is a principal performer, and by the left side of him there is an accompanist. He may be, or he or she may be, a veena player, a violin player, or nadaswaram, or flute player, etc., etc., but especially veena player and violin player. Of course, saxophone player, mandolin player are also added nowadays to this musical concert. And these accompanists, that is the melody music players, sit one by one, sit by the side of one by one. Behind the principal performer, a tanpur player is seated. At the right side of the principal player, the rhythmic instrument players are seated one by one. These rhythmic musical instrument players are seated opposite to the melodic musical players. That is, the melodic musical instrument players sit on the left side of the principal performer, whereas the rhythmic instrument player sit by the side of sit on the right side of the principal performer. These rhythmic musical players and melodic instrument players are sit opposite to each other. Then only they can read the facial expressions and the vibration of the voice and melody produced by it, etc. properly, and by that he could become a good listener of those sounds, and by that he could react to those sounds properly. So this is the general system we can see in Karnataka musical concert. I have already told you a tanpur player sits behind the principal performer. But all these players are seen to the audience. Generally, before starting the Karnataka musical player, a puja is made as per southern Indian tradition, and coconut is also offered, and after that musicians come on the stage. Principal performer sit in the center of the elevated stage. By the left side of him, melody music instrument players sit one by one. On the right side of the principal performer, the rhythmic melody instrument players sit each. And behind principal performer, those tanpur players are sit. It may be one or two as the case may be. So anyhow, then the concert begins with good wishes. In the beginning, principal performer prays to God or goddess. He invokes God or goddess of his choice or her choice, and by that he prays to them to make musical concert a success one. To make a musical concert go on without any abstractions, without any problems. Then that principal musical singer begins his singing or singing. That principal performer begins with invocation song. Then he selects varnam, that is some pieces of musical compositions, some small pieces of musical compositions. Then as he goes on and on playing those varnams, he introduced the ragas to the audience sit before him. Those varnams contain some ragas, and that musical performer concentrates on a particular raga, and he tries to carry the point of that raga to the audience in the auditorium or somewhere around the auditorium. Of course, by that he attracts the attention of the audience towards the raga, towards the meaning of that raga, etc. By that he creates an atmosphere to listen and enjoy the music and be blessed and be happy. And by that he tries to create a sort of spiritual atmosphere there itself. Then he makes some alapana, that is playing on this raga or on that raga in his own way or in her own way. And then of course he uses some other things also, and he gets into the pallavi, anupallavi, charana, etc. He selects two lines of the composition regarding Pallavi. He sings them, and that Pallavi is followed by Anupallavi. In Anupallavi, he selects some of the lines and he sings and he tries to convey the things to the audience, and after that he makes some chittaswara. There he does not use, or she does not use this raga or that raga. A person uses simply tones, sarigapa madanisa, like that. It goes on and on in a descending, in an ascending order, and of course after descending order. It depends upon the case, it depends upon the context. Of course, after Anupallavi or Chittaswara, that principal performer goes to Charana. That Charana in the composition gives us details. He plays upon those, he sings upon those details, and he goes one by one. He uses a particular raga sometimes, or other raga, as the case may be. He uses Swarakalpana sometimes Manodharma Sangeeta, that is, he uses what he wants. So like this, he goes on and on. He begins with a Mandrasthai, Madhyamasthai, Tivrasthai, Ati Tivrasthai, in the ascending order. Of course, as he reaches a particular climax, he may come down in a descending order. It is Ati Tivrasthai, that is very high level, middle level, and of course Mandrasthai is low level. So he comes there and he goes on and on towards the end of the raga or music. That means in the beginning, the principal performer shows his skill in singing that composition. Of course, as the time goes on and on, that is after 3 minutes or 4 minutes or 5 minutes, as the case may be, the other accompanists and of course percussionists would take part with the principal performer. After the principal performer, the accompanist shows skill one by one. After that rhythmic instrument player shows his or her skill one by one, and then all of them joins each other and plays it together and creates such a sort of musical effect. It is a kind of thrill at that time. So like that, all of them show their skill, all of them exhibit their skill. Of course, that Karnataka musical concert is long or is lasted for 3 hours, more or less, but generally it is lasted in 3 hours. As the time goes on and on, those musicians uses ragam, thanam, raga, thanam, pallavim, etc., etc. Of course, then they, at the end of the music, they sing tillanas, some light pieces of music. They may be lyrics, but they are very light. And after that, audience would like to listen some particular songs or particular compositions or some particular ragas, and then the musicians react to them. They sing or play the composition or the musical instrument as the case may be. After Tillan, of course, it is almost all the end of the musical concert. At the end of the musical concert, there is an auspicious singing, that is Mangala Gite. With that Mangala Gite, that is in this Mangala Gite, principal performer and accompanist and percussionist are very grateful to God and Goddess for the success they have got in the musical concert. So, with that auspicious note, the musical concert is ended. So, like this, one by one in order, the musical concert, Karnataka musical concert is conducted. Whatever system of music it may be there is an order, no doubt about it. But in Karnataka musical system, the order is followed very strictly and with a sacredness and a kind of spirituality. That is the speciality of Karnataka music system. Because it is not simply singing for song's sake or composition's sake. It is for the elevation of human minds. It is for the elevation of peace. It is for the elevation of spirituality, nobler thoughts and nobler minds. It is to have a blissful and blissful society. So, that is why the musical order is followed very strictly in Karnataka musical system. Karnataka musical system festivals are also celebrated throughout the world. Especially Chennai, the capital of Tamil Nadu in modern India, southern India, in modern India, is famous for its conducting the Karnataka musical festival. It conducts musical festival for weeks together. Most of the persons in the world attend that musical festival. It may be in the name of Purandara Aradhana or Tyagaraja Aradhana, etc., etc. That musical festivals is also celebrated in Mysore. It is also celebrated in Bangalore. It is celebrated in Tanjavur, Guruvayur. Of course, in Cleveland, in North America, Canada, Australia, and Germany, and United Kingdom. In most of these places, the Karnataka Music Festival is celebrated, especially in the month of January. It begins in the month of December, and in the month of January, it takes its own climax, and of course, it is also celebrated in the month of February. So, like this Karnataka music is played everywhere. It is celebrated in most of the places in the world. It shows to what extent the Karnataka musical system is famous in the world. So, it has its own characteristics, the characteristics of spirituality. the characteristic of blissfulness, the characteristics of peace of mind. It is for the welfare of the society, for the wealth of and health of the society, in order to create a healthy society and peaceful society and nobler society in the world. So these are the things we appreciate when we listen the Karnataka musical system, or when we try to play on Karnataka music system. Anyhow, these are the things I have told you till this time. Due to the time factor, other things may not be possible to be covered here in this episode. But when I get the time, I try to cover the other things which are left in these episodes. I hope you have got a fewer idea regarding Karnataka musical instruments, Karnataka musical concert, and Karnataka music festivals. So, subscribe it and share it. And thank you, and see you in the next episode. Namaskar.